from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Monday, November 11th. So we have the moon in Pisces here again all day. Now this is giving us a little bit of a resting time. We should be introverted, we should be reflective, we should be focused on rest and recovery, on releasing, on kind of just getting in alignment once again. That Pisces energy is closing a chapter, an emotional chapter at that. And of course, we're still in Scorpio season, so the emotions that we are kind of actualizing, that we're realizing, that we're defining, that we're kind of sorting through, definitely going to have a major impact on the spiritual, the soulful change and transformation that, of course, we're going through Scorpio season. Now, if you are a believer in portals and gateways based off of numerology, then today would be a significant day. Again, 11/11. Now, there's a lot of talk that this is a significant gateway. I personally don't really buy into the 11/11 portal or gateway concept just because, of course, we've been lied to where our calendar is concerned. And of course, if we were getting down to the nitty-gritty, it's not really 11/11. However, belief is everything. And if the majority of the collective is in the right kind of mind frame to think that 11/11 carries power, then of course it does. But what I would also want to remind you is that here in Canada, it's actually Remembrance Day. In the States, it's Veterans Day. And of course, I am going to ask for a little bit of forgiveness where my ignorance is concerned, because outside of Canada and the US, I don't know if this day is recognized in other countries, a day of remembrance for the people that fought in the wars. Now, we're not going to get into those wars because, of course, that is a particular topic and theme. That was a particular construct to create division as well. However, people did fight for our liberties. It is a time of remembrance and recognition. And for that particular matter, all in itself, I look at this as a very heavy, somber, serious day and an energy harvesting day when, again, there is this heaviness, this weight, this remembrance of the pain and the conflict and the loss and the drama that, of course, we in our collective had experienced in years gone by. So it's a very conflicting topic and theme for me each and every single year. It always is. If you've been with me for any amount of time, you're no stranger to me and, of course, the way that I think when it comes to actual gateways and portals and numerology. Today, to me, screams more of a heavier energy. And even to kind of add a different layer into things, we have Venus, goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money. She's moving into Capricorn energy, which is a cardinal earth sign. So that in itself is heavy. We take on a little bit more, I'm going to call it weight, heaviness in our heart space where Venus rules, because the Capricorn energy has a very strong connection with Saturn, of course, the Lord of Karma. We carry a lot of responsibility, a lot of accountability on our heart space, on our shoulders, and our head space with this particular energy. And again, it's very traditional. So when we're thinking back long term, of course, there is a term of remembrance. There is a focus of the attitude of gratitude for those that came before us and had the courage, the boldness, the bravery to do the hard things that had to be done in order to fight for our freedom and our liberties. And of course, you know, there is this looking forward type of energy where we're in a very interesting time and a place here in this present moment where we're looking back, having the attitude of gratitude for how it is that we've gotten here, giving a lot of thanks to those that help kind of pave the path. And of course, we're in this very interesting timeline in this present moment. And now we're looking forward, trying to kind of figure out our new wants, needs, desires, the new structures, the new, let's call it foundations that need to be built in order for us to continue to pave the way. So it's a very interesting dynamic that I think that we're dealing with here today. And to kind of stir the pot even more, we have another yod taking place. Now, we will talk about it when we get here, but let me just remind you, a yod is often referred to as the finger of God in astrology and in a chart. And basically, you follow those particular patterns, those degrees, and whatever the yod itself, it's basically like 2 points coming together and then 1 point kind of coming off of those 2 points meeting. And that is the finger of God. That is the yod. And and whatever that energy is kind of being, come together, combined to push forward in a direct position, that is really going to have an effect on the collective. And back on October 27th, we had a yod between Jupiter and Chiron and Mercury. Mercury at that point was in Scorpio energy. So interestingly enough, this yod that we have here today, this is going to be between the Sun and Chiron and Jupiter. And of course, the Sun is in the Scorpio degrees that, of course, Mercury was at back on October 27th. And just a reminder, between Jupiter and Chiron and Mercury back on October 27th, we were really in a situation where we needed to shift our perspective. And of course, a lot has happened since then. So we're still having a little bit of a hard time processing where certain things are coming to an end. And of course, certain things are about to begin, and trying to challenge our ideas and our thoughts and our opinions and try to adopt a different perspective, different options and possibilities of what is yet to come. So we were kind of on this seesaw type of vibe back at the end of October. But of course, a lot has happened since then. We dove into November, had that new moon in Scorpio. It was back to back to back the first 3 days with energy shifts, of course. And here we are now kind of, I'm going to say, towards the end of Scorpio season, and we are having another yod. So this particular yod is definitely going to kind of put the pressure on us just a tad. It's going to put the ants in our pants. It's going to kind of, turn up the volume on feeling restless, not having the answers that we want, that we need, what we desire. And we're still sitting on the fence. We're very indecisive, if you will, on where it is that we want to go from here. And a lot of that, thank you, Mr. Jupiter, for being retrograde in that Gemini energy that constantly has us weighing the pros and cons, the ups and downs, the good and the bad, the back and forth, and of course, coming to no certain decision. Thank you so much for that. So it is going to definitely have an impact here on the day. And, with all of the things that I've previously mentioned, there's definitely going to be an interesting vibe to the day here today. And all we can do is observe what is coming up for us, observe the triggers, the activations, observe the silver linings, and really put ourselves in a situation to lean all the way into the feels that are coming up for acknowledgement and helping us to kind of flip the script, release those particular energies so that we can change them, transmute them into something better, into something more powerful. So we're going to have a lot of opportunity here today to kind of see the high, see the beautiful sights, see the beauty in everything in the world around us. And of course, lean into those lows, be triggered and activated in order for growth, in order for evolution, and of course, helping us to rewire our brain into a better perspective, a better approach to what it is that we're currently growing through. So with all of that being said, there are 11 different aspects popping off here today. 8 of them are going to involve the moon. The moon in Pisces energy going to semi-square, create a little bit of tension and conflict with Pluto. Pluto is the great transformer himself. He is in these final degrees of Capricorn energy. The days of Pluto in this Capricorn energy are getting few and fewer and fewer. And of course, the closer that we get to the 19th of November, we are going to feel that intensity of wrapping up a 15/16 year chapter, taking us all the way back to 2008. And of course, this is about power and control and structures and foundations and liberation and freedom. And there's a lot of those topics and themes going on, not only in the collective, but in our individual lives as well. So this is going to bring up a lot of not so nice thoughts and feelings. This is going to illuminate for us where it is that we don't feel in power and control, where we feel like we are stuck in a rut, a pattern, a habit, if you will, of not so good thoughts and feelings. Now, when the moon in Pisces gets overwhelmed, we tend to want to check out from reality. We want to curl up in a ball. We want to live in la la land. Of course, there is that option, but you can run. You cannot hide from the realizations, from the downloads that need to happen in order to push you into a new level of awareness, a new level of consciousness. And that is what Pluto is here to do. He needs to throw us into the dark pit in order for us to kind of beat ourselves up and break ourselves down, in order for us to get that out of the way so that we can kind of jump up and brush the dirt off our shoulder and attempt to climb out of this dark pit. It is a little bit of a reverse psychology type of thing, something that Pluto really likes to play on us because he does rule over the psyche. And of course, you have to sit in the darkness before you can truly appreciate the light. The moon in Pisces is going to make a very awkward interaction with Mars. Mars is the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desires, even our anger. He is in Leo energy, the heart and soul of the zodiac, building, cultivating this new motivation, this new determination to tap into a new boldness and bravery to do the hard things so that we can be heart-led, taking action upon and making major moves when the green light is given to us to kind of switch things up in a big way. Now, a lot of the reason of why we've been on pause is because, of course, Mars is in a direct opposition to Mr. Pluto over there at the final degree of that Capricorn energy, and we are currently sitting on the bench having to observe the game currently being played. But the clock, the time, if you will, on that clock is counting down. We are going to bust out of this penalty box here very shortly. We are going to hit the ground running. We are very focused on the new plan, the new strategy that we have to execute upon when, again, given the green light go ahead to do so. So, of course, the moon and Mars interacting in this way, we are frustrated. We do feel the ants in our pants. We do feel the restlessness kind of getting to us, the anticipation of waiting for the alarm to pop off, allowing us back into the game. But what we do learn from this is where it is that we're actually passionate of making changes, of actually seeing something through, where there is something kind of pushing us in our heart space to do what we need to do in order to close the door on the past and again start building towards these new goals, visions, dreams, and desires. So 6:09 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the sun in Scorpio energy going to make a very harsh interaction with Jupiter, the planet of growth, expansion, beliefs, abundance, and blessings, who of course is retrograde in the Gemini energy. And these two are kicking off this yod formation that's going to take us throughout the day. So, we will kind of include Chiron here later on in the day, but right now the sun shining a very bright light on where it is that we're on the fence, where it is that we're being torn, pulled between old version of self, new version of self, old wants, needs, and desires, new wants, needs, and desires, and where it is that, again, Jupiter being retrograde, looking back, reflecting upon information, wisdom, knowledge that we gained through previous tough love life lessons that we're just not integrating into this present moment. And again, this is a good time to kind of reflect upon where it is that we are resisting, growing, and making those changes. And of course, building upon what it is that we've already experienced. And so this is definitely going to turn the volume all the way down on our confidence. We're not feeling so good. We're not feeling so hype. If this was a positive interaction, we would have all of those things, but it is not. It is a messy interaction. And it puts us in a situation where we're a little bit over exaggerating our emotions, our frustration, us feeling trapped. It kind of puts us in a situation where we're starting to kind of doubt ourselves, our gut, our intuition, and we are more likely to want to run away from confrontation and from situations that are presenting themselves to test us. Of course, we are an exam series here, and anything that kind of exposes us to be open and out there and vulnerable, we are running and hiding away from, and that does not feel so good. The moon in Pisces is then going to get into the boxing ring and square off with Jupiter. So emotionally speaking, now the volume is being turned all the way up on us feeling like we are just banging our head against a wall, like we are never going to get out of our own damn way, like we're never going to be able to bring our goals and visions and dreams to life. We are, again, in an over-exaggerated state of emotion, not discounting what we're feeling, but the volume is turned all the way up, the magnification turned on the way up as well, and we're not seeing things as clearly as we need. And so, there is a lot of problematic situations here because the moon in this Pisces energy just wants to live in la la land. We want to run, we want to hide, we don't want to deal with life. But the more we keep putting off a lot of the decisions and choices that we have to make, of course, this state of chaos is going to continue, is going to definitely be a major thing on our to-do list to have to deal with every single day. So the more we run, the more we hide, the more we avoid doing the deep thinking, the deep thoughts that we have to be doing right now, contemplating the moves that we want to be making, the paths that we want to be actually following. The more we put that off, the more chaos and craziness we're actually creating within ourselves. We get a little bit of help though, because the moon in Pisces energy is then going to trine, which is a beautiful interaction with the sun in Scorpio energy. So a trine means that we're working with like-minded elements. And in this case, Pisces energy, Scorpio energy, they're both water energies. So water is very cleansing, it's very purifying, it's very healing, very refreshing, very renewing to our emotions, to our soul, to our spirit, to the mood and the attitude that, of course, thus far has not been so peachy keen, has not been so positive, has not been so dreamy. We're definitely going to gain a lot of insight through our intuition, through the strength, the power that we are now showing ourselves when it comes to being able to flip the script in our emotions and kind of dig ourselves out of that dark pit. The moon in Pisces is then going to make a positive interaction with Chiron. So although the moon is not really involved in this yod, it's kind of setting the stage for the sun and Chiron to be coming together here late in the day. The moon and Chiron working together, and again, Chiron being the wounded healer, is currently retrograde in this Aries energy, helping us with this new version of self, attempting to focus on the wounds, the pain, the trauma still alive and well within us, preventing us from actually moving on and moving forward. Now, lucky for us, this is a positive interaction, so we're only focusing on the growth, on the healing, on the evolving of this new version of self, of us getting more and more comfortable with the boundaries, with the parameters of this new version of self. And the moon, again, in Pisces energy, where this is a positive interaction, is kind of dreamy about what we could now possibly achieve now that we don't have certain wounds, pains, and traumas holding us back. So there is a little bit of a refresher, a renewal in our soul and our spirit to kind of encourage us to continue to fight this good fight, healing the parts of self that, of course, have had us in survival mode. Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, she is in the very final degrees, the 29th critical crisis degree of Sagittarius energy, as she is moving into Capricorn energy here later on in the day. This is at 10:40 a.m., again, Eastern Standard Time. Venus is going to be making a positive interaction with Pluto, who, of course, is at the 29th critical crisis karmic degree of Capricorn energy. So this is going to intensify our emotions. This is going to intensify our heart space. These are heart activations. If you haven't listened to this week's Ascension forecast, I'm going to recommend you do so that you understand where the energy is manifesting in the physical form and what to actually do about it. Now, this is a positive interaction, which means that we're going to feel a little bit manic. We're going to feel like we just cannot wait to hit the ground running. Again, just a reminder, Venus's time in Sagittarius energy has been about exploration, experimenting with the goal, vision, and dream for our future vision, for our future self. We've been changing our worth, our values, our priorities in the world. We understand what and who is coming with us and what and who is being left behind. And of course, this intensity, because Pluto intensifies things, especially in the psyche, we are going to have some deep revelations of the heart space of what our true worth and value actually is, where it is that, again, we're gaining a little bit of optimism and confidence about our ability to actually do the hard things, to kind of close the door upon the people, places, and things that, again, we've outgrown, and really kind of focus on clearing the space and cleaning the slate for us to start building something new. And again, Pluto in the final degrees of this Capricorn energy, we're in a closure chapter. So Venus is very optimistic, very confident, very kind of hell-bent at this particular juncture to do what needs to be done in order to clear the space out of that old version of self, what that old version of self has built as far as routines, relationships, and money matters go. And now we are, again, getting kind of hyped up and excited about what could be. 1:26 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Venus will be moving into Capricorn energy. So there is an astro forecast over this event if you want to take a listen to that. Of course, if you haven't downloaded your November energy forecast, guide according to your zodiac sign, I'm going to recommend you do that and flip to this particular event. We have to capture what is going on for us right now. We're going to have to come back and reference this particular point in time when we bust into 2025. So Venus in Capricorn energy, again, it's all business. She's getting down to the matter of fact. She is constructing a to-do list. She is planning and strategizing what needs to be built, birthed, and created in order for her long-term happiness, joy, safety, and security to actually be achievable. Again, listen to the forecast, do all of the work in the guide, and you will have a better understanding of not only what Venus in Capricorn is all about, but where she's going to show up in your life. Again, very important to download your energy guide according to your zodiac sign in order to gain that information. So we sit in that particular energy until 4:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is when the sun in Scorpio energy is going to make a very harsh interaction with Chiron, the wounded healer, and this is going to be the Yod activation that I talked about earlier. So yeah, this doesn't feel good. This is going to put us in a situation where we don't know how to express ourselves. Not only that, we don't feel comfortable in our own skin. We are being illuminated to the wounds of the version of self that we are trying to shed the skin of and empower ourselves to boss up into this new version of self. And so at this particular juncture, I would say any emotion, any feeling, any thought, any idea that is dark, that is heavy, that is weighted, is likely going to come up. We could have guilt, we could have fear, we could have shame, we could have embarrassment, whatever the case may be. There's going to be illumination of the heavier thoughts and feelings and memories and emotions that we have trapped within us, because this is a trigger and activation for us to grow. We have to become aware of the problem, so to speak, in order to actually fix it, heal it, resolve it, repair it. We are here in the Scorpio energy to again rise as the phoenix. And a death and destruction process is needed in order for us to, again, have this resurrection, this rebirthing energy. Now, this could also put us in a situation where we're starting to realize the aches and pains, the minor health issues in our physical form. Again, I'm going to encourage you to listen to the Ascension forecast each and every single week that I put it out there, so that you understand how these energy shifts are actually impacting our physical form. But the realization of these kind of health issues is to show us where it is that we're actually not operating in balance, where we're neglecting certain parts of self, or where we're just taking things too far. And so this is going to be an illumination, albeit a very, very intense internalized debate of the pros and cons, of the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, of everything in between, in order for us to see where it is that, again, we have to do a little bit better. Chiron is all about healing, by the way, a little bit better in taking care of thyself, mind, body, and soul. So then the moon in Pisces energy is going to sextile, which is a beautiful interaction, with Uranus, the great awakener, who is retrograde in Taurus energy. And again, Uranus is trying to illuminate for us where it is that we've outgrown certain people, places, and things, certain routines, foundations, systems, structures of the old world that the old version of self had built and created, that this new version of self not really vibing with at this particular juncture, but yet we're holding on. So the whole point of Uranus is to illuminate why we have these attachments, why we are holding on to them so desperately when we know that we've outgrown them. And lucky for us, with the moon in Pisces, there is this release. It's a gentle release. We understand karmically, spiritually speaking, where it is that certain life lessons, certain topics and themes are now coming to an end. Again, we are in exam chapter right now, being tested on whether or not we can walk the walk and talk the talk. And so the moon interacting with Uranus is going to have a sudden shock to the system in the best kind of way, kind of realizing, having these aha moments, having these epiphanies, why it is that we've been holding on to certain people, places, and things for as long as we have this realization. Once we know, we can't unknow. And once you know better, you got to do better. And so our whole mood, our whole attitude, our whole perspective is changing. And because of that, we're easily able to kind of let certain aspects go. Again, moon in Pisces, helping us to kind of close a chapter and pivot to what could now possibly be, that we're not being held back, restricted, limited by some of the restrictions that, again, we've been holding on to. Now, the last thing that we have going on here today is the moon in this Pisces energy coming up to, bumping into, teaming up with, conjuncting Neptune. So Neptune is retrograde. It is rulership in this Pisces energy. So again, there's going to be an ending and a beginning. A conjunction closes the door on a particular chapter, opens the door up to a new chapter. And because Neptune is at not the final degree, but the latter degrees of this Pisces energy, this is the, let's call it, transitional period between closing the door on this last lunar cycle and, again, preparing for this new emotional cycle to kind of get started when the moon shifts into Aries energy early Tuesday morning. And so there is this kind of release. There's this relief. There's this heaviness, this weight that we're no longer feeling. We're letting it go. We're letting certain fixations go. We're letting certain thoughts, ideas, emotions go. And in some cases, some physical aspects, we're letting those go as well. Now, what the beginning part is, the initiating part, is getting very clear on the visual of where it is that we would like to end up from here. Again, part of manifesting is being very detailed on what that vision looks like, what it feels like, what kind of smells you can smell, what kind of, textures or sensations can you actually feel in your physical form when you're imagining what kind of life you actually want to be living, what that would actually be. And of course, the Pisces energy, being very dreamy, very imaginative, very fantasy-like. We're tapping into our higher self. We're tapping into our intuition. And we are really gaining a lot of clarity on where it is that we want to go from here. And so this is, again, a refresher, a renewal, if you will, of our soul and our spirit. Just as we're releasing the heaviness, the weight that has consumed us, we are making space for the new goals, the new visions, the new dreams that we are very excited to pursue.